"We're giving the entire $700 million to Marcus," my father announced at the mahogany table, not even glancing up from his water glass as he delivered the words that would end our family as I knew it. "As for you, Elena, you can show yourself out. This company has no more use for you," he added, and my mother's serene smile told me she had known this moment was coming for weeks. 11 years earlier, none of this had seemed remotely possible, back when our medical device startup in Portland was still small enough that everyone knew everyone's coffee order and nobody had learned to lie to each other yet. My father Richard wore the same gray cardigan to every pitch meeting. My mother Vivian kept a corkboard of employee birthdays behind her desk, and my brother Marcus possessed that rare gift of walking into any room and instantly becoming its center of gravity. I was the quiet one, the engineer who preferred the hum of a clean room to the noise of a boardroom, and by the time I turned 33, I had spent nearly a decade designing the sensor architecture that would eventually make our company worth more than any of us could have imagined. I still remember the night the prototype finally stabilized, 3 a.m, my hands shaking from too much cold brew, when the calibration numbers finally held steady, and I laughed alone in an empty lab until tears blurred the readout screen. Marcus took that breakthrough to a healthcare investment summit the following month and turned my months of failed iterations into a 5-minute story so compelling that 3 firms tried to write checks before he finished speaking, and when someone in the audience asked who actually built the technology, he glanced toward the back row where I stood and simply moved on to the next question. My mother caught me afterward in the hallway and squeezed my shoulder, telling me that Marcus was simply better suited to the spotlight and that I should be grateful I didn't have to deal with all that attention. And for years I believed her enough to let the pattern repeat itself over and over. What none of them ever fully registered, however, was that I had developed the original sensor architecture on my own time using my own funded research grant, months before the company existed in any legal sense, and a patent attorney I consulted early on had warned me never to fold that ownership into the corporate entity, no matter how much family trust was involved. So I hadn't. The company received a broad operating license to manufacture and sell using my designs, but I retained the core patents personally, along with a contractual right to approve any transfer of that license if control of the business ever changed hands, a clause that had felt like tedious formality right up until the morning Marcus started appearing in acquisition meetings I was no longer invited to. The number surfaced first at a stiff family dinner where my father mentioned, almost as an aside while refilling his wine, that a private equity consortium had offered $700 million for the company, and Marcus smiled into his glass and called them our new partners, in a tone that made my stomach turn cold. Within 2 weeks, I was copied on almost nothing. Meetings vanished from my calendar without explanation. And then a routine-looking legal document appeared in my inbox that, buried in paragraph 4, quietly requested my signed consent to transfer the technology license to the new ownership group. I brought it to an independent attorney named Priya Chandrasekaran, who read it twice in silence before tapping the paragraph and telling me flatly that my family could sell the building, the brand, and every contract they held, but they could not sell my patents without my signature. And when I asked what happened if I simply refused, she said they would be selling a company that no longer had a product. When I declined through counsel, my mother launched a quiet campaign, painting me as fragile and overwhelmed. And at the closing gala meant to celebrate the acquisition, Marcus accidentally spilled a full glass of Merlot down the front of my white dress in front of 40 investors, while my father stared into his drink and my mother whispered for me not to make a scene. That was the night I finally called Priya and told her I was done protecting people who had never once protected me. Weeks later, in the final boardroom meeting where my father tried once more to declare Marcus the sole heir to everything and order me out of the building, the buyer's lead counsel rose from his seat instead, closed his folder, and announced that the deal could not close because the company did not, in fact, own the technology it had promised to sell, revealing in the same breath that Marcus had secretly hired a contractor to attempt unauthorized access to my patent files, an act that collapsed the entire $700 million transaction on the spot and left my father staring at me across the table with the stunned realization that the daughter he'd dismissed as expendable had been the only thing holding his empire together. If this story moved you, that's exactly the kind of connection we hope to create with every video we publish, and stories like Elena's remind us that quiet strength often outlasts the loudest voices in the room. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.